We are live. So we'd like everybody to please bear with us a few minutes. Our wonderful host and technical advisor, Tammy Owens, is trying to devise a workaround. Many of our participants are either out of town or on vacation and doing other things, and they were all planning to log in on their cell phones. And we have just found out that that is not compatible with Streamyard. So we are trying to have a workaround, and Tammy is working on that as we speak. In the meantime, I'd like to ask anybody that has joined us, feel free to post in the chat, especially with any questions that you might have or greetings, and we're going to try to read some of those as we go through the rally. But we are working diligently to get this together, and I see that our good friend Jenny Foxworth has joined us. She'll be live here in a second, I believe.
Let's see.
Jenny, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us. Good to have you.
Thank you.
So I was just explaining to everyone that we had a little bit of a technical glitch in that we didn't realize that StreamYard wasn't compatible with cell phones, and a lot of our speakers are either out of town or unavailable, and they're all planning to log in on their cell phone. Tammy, you know, Jim is actually in that category as well. If you could add him to your live, do you have his phone number? Jim Harris. Jenny, can you text that to Tammy real quick?
Will do.
Okay, thank you kindly. But yeah, Jim is doing a charity event today, and he was going to break away about this time. Jim, if you're out there, if you can hear me, we're going to try to get you in on our makeshift live that Tammy's trying to connect to right now. And Tammy, I sent you that link via email. Did you get it, or do I need to send it to you some other way?
As far as him
the link for you to be able to bring the Facebook Live into the group here?
Right now, I'm trying to get people onto the Facebook Live. It's only me. So I've invited Mark and Aaron, but they aren't seeing it. I invited you.
Well, I didn't want to go on it because I'm on here.
So I don't know how to.
I think that would cause feedback if I was on both.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me. There's a little bit of feedback there as well.
Yeah, there is. You okay, Jenny?
She's muted.
Your mic is off. You're muted. We can't hear you, Jenny. There you go.
I've got to get a piece of paper and write this number down so I can text it to Tammy. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'll stop my camera.
No problem. Jim is texting me. Guys, bear with us. So, guys, this is intended to be the Rally for Truth and Justice. As we're all aware, Michael Chappell was convicted 28 years ago for a crime that we believe he did not commit. We believe the evidence speaks for itself. I personally have investigated. I have read through over 20,000 pages of documentation. I've read witness statements. I've talked to many of the witnesses. I've talked to many people who are either involved, knew Mike at the time, or understood the justice system, how it worked. I am myself a general contractor by trade, and so I'm not law enforcement. But what I have is I have an ability to read and an ability to comprehend what I'm reading. And what I have found myself is that there are a lot of unanswered questions with the prosecution of Michael Chappell, and there was a mountain of evidence, a mountain of exculpatory evidence that was withheld from the defense, that was concealed, some was destroyed. And at the end of the day, I believe wholeheartedly that Michael Chappell remains in prison 28 years after a crime he did not commit. Now, Tammy Owens has been a wonderful leader in our group. She and Jenny Foxworth, who, if you don't know Jenny, you are probably one of the few people on the planet who don't know Jenny, because Jenny knows everybody. And Jenny was also a Gwinnett County employee at the time. She worked for the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, so she has a rich history with the county, and as a county employee. And with many people in the community, she can, tell you herself that, she was aware of the situation with Michael Chappell, and she has known about this case for, the entire 28 years. So she has been a wonderful advocate for Mike, and also for our cause. And so, Jenny, we really appreciate having you. And I'm really off script from what we originally had intended, but Tammy's trying to get our makeshift group together, so I'm going to play host for a little bit. And with that, Jenny, won't you tell us a little bit about your connection to this case and your feelings on Michael in this case, if you would?
Well, actually, I knew Michael Chappell as a nurse working at the Gwinnett County Detention Center. I met him when he would bring people he'd arrested into the jail, and just saw his general treatment of people he'd arrested. And he was very respectful, very kind. He was not flirtatious. He was not disrespectful. He did not treat anyone less than himself. He treated other people the way he wanted to be treated. And that's my first encounter with him. And as he became arrested and became an inmate, I ended up working there as a nurse and helping to try to meet his medical needs, just like I would any other person that was incarcerated there at the Gwinnett County Detention Center. He did not get any special treatment. As a matter of fact, he didn't receive the treatment he should have, in my opinion, but that's only my opinion. I was, I can tell you that Michael Chappell, from the very beginning, I did not believe in my heart that this man had committed this crime. I did not believe this, and I do not believe it today, that he committed the crime. I believe he's innocent. And I rode by the Gwinnett County Police Department every day for 6 days after he was arrested, and his car was not, his own police car was not secured. It was where I could have gotten to it myself. I could have planted evidence there. I could have touched the car. I could have done anything I wanted to the car at the time.
So when those who are detractors of mine who think that, maybe some of the book, that I took some liberties with writing Mike's story. And one of those things is with the security of the vehicle, firsthand that the vehicle remained unsecured for at least, it sounds like a week or right at a week. You said 6 days.
I wrote about for 6 days.
Yeah. So, and that's actually what the record shows. The record shows it was finally secured after the second search that actually produced the positive results, the positive luminol test. What's funny is that the first test at the beginning of those 6 days reviewed or produced no positive results. In fact, it was negative for any incriminating evidence, blood, any other DNA matter. And so it was only after the vehicle sat unsecured that you witnessed yourself for 6 days that they went back and retested, reluminoled the vehicle, and lo and behold, then they found one swipe or 40 nanograms of the victim's blood, according to the state's DNA expert. Of course, the defense's DNA expert, Dr. Chow, said that test result was inconclusive at best, and the testing that they used at the time was pretty much discontinued very shortly thereafter, and is now obsolete, and was really considered by many, in the scientific field to be, inconsistent and inconclusive. So we'll leave it at that. But that's very good information, Jenny, and I appreciate that. And of course, you told me that very same thing the first time I talked to you several months ago. You told me some other interesting things, and we don't have to go into all of that. I can tell you that the record does reflect the same things that you told me. The testimony, if you will, is very valid. And again, I can't thank you enough. You made the connection between me and Jim Harris. He's been phenomenal, and I think he wrote a fantastic series. And he has just been a great resource. So I appreciate that. And I say this jokingly, but lovingly. But I think you know everybody. And I appreciate that very kindly. So thank you, Jenny Foxworth. And to get our rally started, Michael Chappell is innocent. Free Mike Chappell.
Yes,
that's right. Free Mike Chappell.
All right. And just to reiterate to everybody who's watching live, please feel free to place comments in the chat, including questions. We will try to answer a few questions live. It looks like we may have some difficulty in bringing some of our guests on. We were going to have a couple of really terrific people on. The current chief of police of Douglas, Georgia, was going to join us. He credits Mike Chappell with helping turn his life around. He was what he describes as a wayward youth in Beaufort. Or in Mike's territory. I think he was Beaufort or Sugar Hill or around that area, but definitely Gwinnett County. And he came into contact with Mike several times as a youth, and Mike really helped guide him and helped give him some direction in life. And he says it was because Mike Chappell that he decided to become a police officer. He's also shared with me some things that corroborate some other parts of the record that we know to be true. So he's been a great guy to talk with, and a great advocate for Michael Chappell. So we also had Mark West, who has very similar things to say, that Mike really helped him to make the decision to become a police officer. And of course, Mark served our country in the Marine Corps, similar to Mike, and then he became a police officer in DeKalb County, I want to say when he was about 20 years old, and he's a couple of years older than me. And he's now retired from DeKalb County and is a Walton County Sheriff deputy. So he spent his entire life serving our country and community. and we appreciate him very much. Looks like I've got Jim. Jim, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Henry. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty. I had to move indoors.
Well, we appreciate you making it on. And what we found out is that cell phones aren't in general very compatible with Streamyard. So we've had a couple of our guests that are having the same kind of difficulty you did in getting in. But as I had promised you, we would get you on very quickly.
I'm losing you. My connection is very intermittent.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, Jim?
I'm here as long as I stay in this exact spot, but I'm in a
All
room
right.
with about 400 people.
So I'm going to do what we had talked
How
about.
this, Jim? Go ahead and share your story. Go ahead and talk to us while you've got a signal.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Jim. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor as you and I had talked about, so you can cut out as soon as you need to. But the floor is yours.
All right. Well, again, just briefly, I guess kind of the point was that every one of the supporters of the Mike Chappell is Innocent Project has an opportunity to really expand the footprint of awareness of the movement. And as opposed to years past when it was a lot of heavy lifting, manual labor, mail, protest trips, so on and so forth, now 5 minutes in front of your computer or on your phone, and you can access hundreds of people, and you can have a ripple effect of how many people get access down the road. So on social media, for example, when one of our posts hits, if you'll like the post, share the post to your personal page, go back and make a comment on the post. And typically you're better off if you make a comment that is conversation generating, like, did they find the gun? Did he take a polygraph? Things like that. Less argumentative and conversation or confrontational, but more to generate a dialogue. And then last but not least, the most important thing is click on the link and read the story, and then share that link with others, because that footprint of access helps that product with Google and the way that they quantify content. That helps that product, that article, show up when people search Mike Chappell. Then the content that is from your organization, the support organization, is going to come up at the top of the search. And each of you can help make that happen. So 6 months from now, if somebody goes, what's this Mike Chappell case? And they Google Mike Chappell, if everybody does their job now, the first content that they're going to get is going to be content that's based on your all's movement and your all's actions. And it takes 5 minutes when there's a post on Facebook, it really only takes you 5 minutes to make an imprint that's bigger than what you 25 years ago could make in 30 days.
Yeah, awesome, Jim. I appreciate it. And to that end, I want to just say on behalf of the Michael Chappell is Innocent Project, we appreciate very much the series that you have written and posted at the Southern Voice. The Southern Voice, and I'm not just saying this to blow your skirt up, but the Southern Voice has quickly become my second favorite stop on the internet. Of course, the Michael Chappell is Innocent group is my favorite stop, but you do a great job at the Southern Voice. Your series was just stand-up, excellent reporting on the facts, and we appreciate that very kindly, and we look forward to much more to come in the future. And thank you for today.
Thank you for your kind words. I've enjoyed being involved,
Thank you,
and
Jim.
I've enjoyed meeting all of you folks. And as circumstances develop, we will certainly continue to write articles to update everyone. And feel free to reach out if you have comments, questions, whatever. Obviously, Henry is the expert. But if you want to know anything about any of the specifics of the articles, whatever, I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you have. But in the meantime, utilize social media. It's free. It takes just a couple of minutes, and you can really further your cause very, very well, very effectively, and very easily.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And you feel free to stay on as long as you like. But I understand that you're also doing another charitable event today. And your kind heart and charity is
Fest.
Yeah.
So
What's that?
Oysters to tables of hungry people, and they're wanting me now.
Well, I'll let you get back to them, and you can feel free to deliver some good fried oysters to me whenever you get a chance.
Absolutely. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim.
You know, we mentioned the project. So the Michael Chappell is Innocent Project itself was actually founded earlier this year by a small band of supporters that realized that we needed some game change here. You know, there was a new hope for justice for Michael Chappell, which was incredible. And that new hope itself came from an announcement by the newly elected Gwinnett County DA, Patsy Austin Gadsden. And Madam District Attorney announced the formation of the I can't talk today, Henry. Convictions Integrity Unit, and she is promising to review claims of actual innocence and questionable convictions that have occurred in Gwinnett County, which I think is just amazing. So we feel that one of the grave injustices, one of the worst injustices for this county, probably even the country, occurred in former District Attorney Danny Porter's first big case. Now, we are here to raise our voices, is what this rally is all about. We're raising our voices for justice, and we want Michael Chappell to have its fair day in court, hearing all of this evidence in the case. And if that occurs, we're convinced that Michael Chappell will be exonerated. So as we continue on with our rally, Henry is the author of the book, of course, Michael Chappell, Why a Decorated Veteran and Former Police Officer Remains in Prison Decades After a Crime He Did Not Commit. Now, I've read this book myself, and if you hear things here and there, it will get you stirred up, and you'll really just, your antennas start going off. But when you sit down and you read this book that you can find at Story Press, Amazon, you really want to get that book, because when you pull it all together, you will sit there with your mind blown, wondering how in the world could this have happened. Now, one of the things that got me was that, you know, they always say, what's your alibi? And to me, it would appear that Mike had an alibi, that he was actually at the firehouse when the call came in about this murder. And I believe, Henry, don't you have some words from Mr. Ellington, one of the firefighters there?
Yeah, I do. Well, now let me just be clear. Craig Ellington is not one of the firefighters that was at the Firehouse 14 with Mike that night. Craig Ellington is a man that grew up with Michael Chappell. And I apologize. Give me just 1 second and I'll pull that up. But he is on a...
Well, if you could, while you're pulling that up, just kind of tell us about what took place and why the firehouse would have been his alibi.
Okay, I can do that. Give me just 1 second, please, Tammy. So, yeah, and you make a very good point. And I don't know if everybody knows who Tom Conroy is, but Tom Conroy made this point in the group the other day, and it's a very salient point. You simply can't be in two places at one time. And we know from the sworn testimony of at least 6 firefighters, actually it was 7 firefighters, but one of them wasn't in the day room with the police officers, but he was at the firehouse and he reported seeing them throughout the night. But in general, they virtually all said that Michael Chappell was at the firehouse until right at 10 o'clock. And more importantly, there was a dispatch call that was made at 9:56 p.m. Now, Mike was standing under the firehouse speaker when he responded to dispatch. And so when he responded to dispatch, he also responded to a detective that was calling him about some information with some warrants for a suspect that they were both in pursuit of. And so each time he cued his mic, the dispatch recordings would have picked up the firehouse's ambient sounds, because keep in mind, the firehouse has a steady stream of traffic running over their firehouse speaker, and so that would have been background noise for that dispatch call, and that occurred at 9:56 p.m. And then Mike went in the opposite direction of the murder, and he arrived at the call that he was assigned to at about 11 minutes after 10. And the person at that call said that he was courteous and nice and that he stayed about 10 minutes. And then from there, it was about 10 minutes back to the precinct for end of watch, which he had to be back at 10:30 for end of watch. And then he left the firehouse. He left the precinct, which is in the same building as the firehouse, at 10:45, headed for home. So what that means is, according to the medical examiner and the district attorney's theory on the case, there was absolutely no time during the window of death that Michael Chappell could have been available to have been at the Gwencoe muffler shop. In fact, the earliest he could have been at the crime scene was about an hour after the crime occurred. So as Tom Conroy says, you simply can't be in two places at one time. And give me just one second here.
You know, we've got a question. I think we could just go ahead and kind of tie this in because it's about the case. Aaron Olson is asking where are the original investigators that worked for Gwinnett County. And I believe we were hoping to have a couple of those guys come on today. You want to share a little bit about that, the Corzaks?
Well, not the investigators. I think the investigators with Gwinnett County are kind of firmly in their own camp, and they stand firm in their conviction of Michael Chappell, as does the district attorney's office. We have actually had a couple of former and possibly even current members of the district attorney's office that worked under Danny Porter have actually been in our group. I won't get into too much detail, but I can tell you when the enemy attacks you, you're over the target. And so some things have been said about me and to me about the book, and that is what it is. I stand on the evidence that I have and that I've reviewed, and I look forward to discussing this case with anybody. And if we can do it in a positive and professional manner, I'm all for it. And so with that, let me pull up what Craig Ellington had to say. So to tell you who Craig Ellington is, he grew up with Mike. He is a retired Gwinnett County firefighter. He went to high school with Mike. He also says that Mike kind of gave him some direction in life, and he followed Mike into the Marine Corps and then into community service as a first responder. Of course, he went to work for the fire department as opposed to the police department. But he was an on-duty fireman when this occurred. He was at Firehouse 1, I believe it was. And here's what he has to say. He said, "I met Mike when I was 15 years old through my friendship with a kid who lived across the street from his family. Mike and I became best friends very quickly. Mike and I always shared the same interests and passions. We both loved the outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping, whatever, as long as we were out in the woods. We often talked of our love for the outdoors and wanting to be mountain men. We actually shared a book called Mountain Man. Back and forth it went, being read over and over by us. We just called it the book. As we grew up, Mike and his family became like a second family to me. I was very close to his parents and brothers. We both chose to work in public safety, myself as a firefighter and Mike as a police officer. I also followed Mike into the Marine Corps. He was a great example of someone to look up to try to emulate. I saw Mike start a small business while working a full-time job. This is a task that takes great focus and determination. Mike was trying to better the life of his wife and children. I played high school football with Mike. I was the best man in his wedding. I spent uncountable hours around the campfire and walking in the woods with Mike. I saw the joy and love he had for his family. He loves his wife and children more than anything in this world. I feel I know Mike and his character as well as anyone. I feel that it is time to bring Mike home. He has lost more than can be imagined by being incarcerated for a crime I do not believe he committed. After reading Henry Ball's book, I am more convinced than ever that Mike would have never been convicted if he had been given any kind of a competent defense. I found myself over and over questioning why they did not push harder on the obvious discrepancies in the prosecution's story. Thank you, Henry, for your work on behalf of Mike and his family. Craig Ellington. So
awesome.
There are a number of people who have very similar things to say to Craig Ellington, and that Mike was an example to them, and that he really encouraged them and inspired them in their life. So that Mike Chappell, the Mike Chappell that his family knows and loves, and that his friends and the people that really knew him back before all of this occurred, the Mike Chappell that was decorated 33 times for meritorious service by his department, the Mike Chappell that chose to serve his community and chose to serve his country. That's the Mike Chappell that we're fighting for. And we appreciate everybody who has joined us in this fight. We appreciate everybody that came to the launch. We appreciate everybody that's been involved in our page and has been to the other events that we did. We had a very successful event at the Duluth Fall Festival, and we will continue to do other live events. And we just appreciate all of you very kindly. And we also see the comments. Aaron Holiday Olson, I couldn't agree with you more. You, in fact, Aaron, did some excellent work on Mike's behalf back in the day. I've read a lot of your letters that are in the evidence files today, and I know that you fought hard for Mike, who was a beloved member of your family, and you did excellent work. And I'd love to talk to you sometime. So thank you, Aaron Olson. And thank you specifically to Jenny, who has been on the broadcast, Michelle Wentz, you, Tammy Owens, Aaron, Mark West, really the whole Chapel and West family, and all of the supporters. You guys have just been awesome, and we just need to keep it up. And what Jim said is really the most important. Let's take every opportunity when an article drops. If I write an article, if he writes an article, or if we post something else, like I'm going to actually try to get some snippets of this video that we can post individually, and let's just do everything we can to get those viral, to get that message out to the masses, because the only thing that is really going to positively affect this movement is a grassroots, loud raising of our voices, so that the powers that be hear us and take action.
Right. It's interesting you said that. I'm a cheerleader in this group, and Michael Chappell is innocent. I'm a cheerleader through there because your voice has to be heard. You have to yell loud enough. You have to make enough commotion that somebody would look at you. And I'm a proponent of social media as well, and getting these things out there. And even when you don't think someone's looking, they're looking. These are types of cases that you won't always get a like or a comment when you post something, but that doesn't mean they're not looking at it. Just last weekend, I happened to be discussing this, and there was a gentleman that said, "Oh yeah, I saw that on your page. I know who Mike Chappell is." And I thought, well, wow, I don't even really know this guy, but he saw it on my page because I tagged another friend. And so these are the things that you have to, you got to keep that conversation going. You got to keep it fresh in your mind, so that way, if there's a situation that comes up or you run into someone you can talk about, to have this information. If you are involved through the group and reading the book and joining in on all of this, it will just ooze out of you, and then that conversation is being moved from you to someone else, to someone else, to someone else. And that's how I actually got involved in the Chapel is Innocence project. Erin was someone that I knew, and she had mentioned something to me, and I kind of was like, oh, okay, that's kind of crazy. But I didn't really do anything with it. And the more I got to know Erin and understand what was going on, and then meeting Henry and talking to him, I mean, why wouldn't you jump on board, right? Michael Chappell was innocent. So we all got to, yes, get out there, find out the information. If you have questions, just ask them. We will give you the answers. And once you have that knowledge, it will be hard to keep your mouth shut. You want to be fighting just like the rest of the warriors here. And so from me and Henry, I just want to say thank you as well for joining us. You have been a part of a production of the Story Press in conjunction with the Michael Chappell is Innocent project. We appreciate you. Now get out there and make some noise.
Michael Chappell is innocent. All right, guys, we appreciate it.
Michael Chappell.
Yeah, thank you all for being here, and thank you for bearing with us through our technical difficulties. We will probably we'll get together and talk about it, and maybe try to do this again not too far down the road, and we'll try to make sure that we don't have any of the technical glitches. But we appreciate everybody. Again, Aaron Olson, we see your comments there on the screen, and we appreciate you very kindly. Jenny Foxworth, Michelle Wentz, Aaron Chappell, Janet, all of you guys, and especially you, Tammy. You've been awesome. So let's keep it up. Michael Chappell is innocent.
Go.